minus 1 minute. T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
1, 2, Westport!
I love how it just ends. What's up, everybody? Happy Saturday. Thank you for joining me and the guest this week, Luna Whitcomb. How you doing, Luna?
What's up, Chad? I always loved hanging out with you and talking with you. I'm excited to do this.
Yeah, thank you for coming back. You know, you're definitely a repeat guest. We've had you as a guest as part of the Breeder series. We've definitely had awesome talks about growing organically. If that's DP texting me right now, okay, good. He loves reminding me that I don't set my phone on vibrate. So the second I went live, I get a text. It's got to be DP.
Nice.
I know, right? Good friends, right? Gotta have them. But we've had many conversations. There's a lot of growing in your background. There's a lot of awesome organic and breeding information up inside that head. And I think everybody in chat is excited because I see a lot of like, I've got my notepad. Like they're familiar with you. Like,
yeah, I saw the comments that it made me smile. I'm glad everyone's enthusiastic for the conversation.
Yep, here to learn. Terp says Luna has the knowledge. You definitely do. And that's why, it's always fun to talk with you. Just for anybody who maybe is being introduced to you, do you want to give just like a quick kind of, hi, my name is Luna. This is what I've been doing.
Sure. Hi, my name is Luna. This is what I've been doing. No.
So rad.
So I'm Luna Whitcomb. I go by Luna all day on Instagram. And I do living soil regenerative like content creation and education. I also breed seeds and I sell them on my website. So I've been like literally obsessed with living soil for over a decade, about 12 years now. But I've been cultivating for like 17. I'm just super into soil biology, soil mineral balancing theory, the chemistry behind it, the ecology, building like regenerative, sustainable systems, like through implementing all the different applications of like growing our plant. Are we allowed to say the word on your podcast?
Right, I know. Yes, you definitely can.
Okay. So like integrating like entomology, microscopy, soil balancing theory, just building systems that are fully sustainable and like a complete like web of life for like living soil systems. So I teach people how to like ferment stuff, how to make inputs, how to make like custom tailor compost teas, breed, balance their soils through like inputs and amendments and stuff like that, as well as like novel applications of like integrating enzymes and phytohormones and different like complex carbohydrates and stuff like that. So that's what I do.
Things that make everything work. And it's a perfect example of how, just growing and even cannabis in general, there's so many layers to the onion. Like
Yeah.
you could be doing it good, but then you dive into, like you're saying, just different phytohormones and how they can affect a plant. Sometimes we're priming a plant against, we're priming their defenses, or maybe we're promoting shoot growth with the hormones and the plants that we're using in there. So
Exactly.
so many layers.
Yeah, I really just like to give people a whole bunch of different tools. And then each tool can apply to different circumstances based on whatever, problem you're facing or goal you're trying to accomplish. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to star some of these questions. Guys, definitely put your questions for Luna in chat. If you put a little question mark or question to start it out, sometimes that helps me see them. But we will be looking for questions, and I'll probably save them to the end. Don't want to interrupt the flow. But I will break the flow here real quick before we get going. So we've got a lot of fun, exciting things to talk about. And I always like to say early bird gets the worm. We're going to be doing some bean giveaways, as we always do on the drawing. But this week, because I am getting ready to put this out for the Patreons next week, we are going back to the Miss Cool Ice. So if you are in the US and you would like to play for a pack of the Miss Cool Ice today, please, in the chat box, go ahead and type the word clever. Yes. Clever of us, isn't it?
Are you going to explain the backstory of why you chose that word?
Yeah. So first of all, it's like Miss Cool Ice. I don't know, if you were on the 90s internet meme scene, but there was this guy, Mr. Cool Ice. I will have to pull Mr. Cool Ice up. This is a cross between the blue cheese and oh my gosh, why am I blanking right now? Pretty sure it's the Westport grape juice, a reversed one that feminized greenhouse cheese. I've got it up here. Royal Queen cheese. That's what it was. It wasn't the cheese like this. It wasn't the greenhouse cheese. It was this one, the Royal Queen Seeds blue cheese, which, if you're familiar with a lot of European seed banks, I did not have hope that it was actually blue cheese. But I popped it anyways, and I got the most extraordinary mint profile from it. Like, it just stood out. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to play around with that.
Cool.
So, yeah, I just made this quick little cross with that to see if a lot of the menthol and mint is carrying over. And for a lot of them, they have. There's still a little bit of funk because there's a little bit in there, but that's the cross in here. But anyways, the Ms. Cool Ice. So I wanted to name it Mr. Cool Ice because of the awesome meme, and it has the menthol flavor. So okay, menthol ice, it gets it. It was sitting okay, I'm pulling it up here now. So I'm laughing on the other screen. Sorry, I'm going to pull this one down here real quick and then show you the Mr. Cool Ice. Oops. Share screen. All right, so let's see if you can see it. But oh my gosh, I've done this before, I swear. So Mr. Cool Ice is just like the ultimate of just like jailhouse tattoos. Gosh, I wish that would blow up bigger. Can you blow up bigger? Yeah, you kind of see it, but it's just the worst, like skull, and it says Mr. Cool Ice, and his arms say ice, ice, and he says Mr. Cool Ice, and on the back, and it's like he's got even a pair of sunglasses tattooed on the back of his head. It's like, you served many years and we're just not into spider webs, so you got this tattoo. But that's where it came from, because he turned into a meme for a long time in the 90s, and nice. I just love taking. Yeah, sorry that you asked. Sorry that I went that deep on it.
Oh.
Nice. So we went from that, or we went from this to this, because I'm like, it's a female, it's feminized, so
cool.
I need to make it like Ms. Cool Ice, and I use my wonderful AI art. Gave her, I'm like,
Love it.
okay, put Miss Cool Ice and a skull on her chest and ice down her arms, and well, that's what we wound up with. So
Nice.
Luna's like, I am so sorry I asked.
I was asking about the choice of the word clever because
Clever. Not even on the right.
It's okay. Let's yeah.
Yeah.
You do your
Okay.
thing, you're all good.
All right. Let me put up that word for people here again real quick. I'll stop. I'll get rid of Mr. Cool Ice. Clever came from whatever's clever. Share the screen. What am I even trying to do here? StreamYard giveaway tool. Okay, so clever, guys. I'll give you just a couple more seconds to type in clever if you're in the US and you wanted to play for a pack of the Miss Cool Ice feminized beans. But I will be putting those out through the Patreon probably Thursday or Friday. Everybody in the harvesting tier gets first priority, then the flowering tier gets priority. But I have enough for everybody in both tiers if they wanted to pick up a pack. You guys just stay tuned on the Patreon, and I'll be making a post, let you know how to make that happen. But since we're on Patreon, though, real quick, I know that your Patreon is an excellent resource for information. Do you want to let people know what your Patreon is, or maybe what they'll find there as well?
Yeah, sure.
And I'll blow you up here. Don't let me scare you. I'm gonna make you big. But
yeah, no worries.
So
my Patreon.
There we go.
My Patreon is the Patreon gets you access to the Discord server. And there's two different tiers. But the Discord server is a huge breakdown of like every different possible thing I could possibly think of surrounding living soil cultivation and the sciences behind it. I kind of almost want to just like bring it up here real quick and like read off some of the channels because there's a lot, but it goes through like everything. And it's a database of all my like recipes and things that I make and like how I made them with explanations of the inputs behind it and stuff like that. But there's, oh my God, I can't read all of these. So there's a whole bunch of different categories, right? So we go into like the recipes, which are like my top dresses, my aerobic teas, my foliar sprays, anaerobic, solid state ferment, my late flower feeds. I have like a bunch of white papers. I do monthly giveaways, and then we go through all the different, or I have all my different genetics on here, and people post images of the genetics that they've cultivated throughout the growth cycle. We go through natural farming like Jadam, KNF, Asian natural farming, fermented plant extracts, soil concepts, which are like soil food web, soil building, polysaccharides, polyphenols, organic acids, amino acids, mulch, or phytohormones, soil mixes. So I have like all my different soil mixes that I've made, as well as soil mixes that I've collected from other people. Irrigation techniques, biostimulants, then different like categories like cation exchange capacity, quorum sensing, saponins. Then we go through mycology. We go through all the different fermentation things. We go through all the different categories of microscopy, like protozoa, bacteria, amoeba, spores, identification, fungi, nematodes. Then we go through different composting stuff. We have different insect frost processes. Then I go through a bunch of different concepts surrounding enzymes. And these are all different channels, as well as like cultivation concepts. Deficiency identification, systemic acquired resistance, plant physiology, calcium wave response, seed feminization, PPFD, CO2 propagation, blah, blah, blah. We go through IPM, we go through endophytes, we go through remediation techniques, and then I have a collection of books like encyclopedias and PDFs that I've collected, and then discussions surrounding like concentrates. So
exhaustive.
A lot of stuff. So it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of information, and it's pretty much everything you would need to know to be able to grow a living soil at a very high level, right?
Yes.
And that's my goal.
Ferrari.
Yeah, and it's only $10 a month. And then the second tier is $20 a month. The second tier gets you access to our monthly giveaways. So I give away 2 seed packs every month. One goes to people that join our live Q&A, which is essentially a like group consulting session where everyone comes in and asks their questions, ask questions about like concepts, things they might need clarification on, like the science behind them, or just like I'm seeing this issue and I don't know how to identify it or whatever it may be. So yeah, it's just a big resource for me and a bunch of people to highly nerd out on living soil stuff.
I love nerding out, and
Yeah.
there's definitely many different areas that you mentioned there. So, I encourage people to definitely go and dive down different rabbit holes. You'll kind of get your head around one, and then as you merge to different sections, and I love that people are able to like have the conversations, get the right answers, have contact with you there. But then you move into the next rabbit hole, and you're like, I'm so glad I went here and then came here because it's all interrelated is what you see in the end. Do you have like a launching point? Like what if somebody's kind of new to like organic, let's just say they've been doing some like top dressing, right? They haven't gone into the ferments yet. They haven't gone into a lot of the cool things that you do. What would maybe be one or two good places for somebody to start? Would it be about soil? Would it be about inoculants? Pick your favorite child, would you?
Relearn. So I guess it depends on where, if you've started growing before, or if this is your first time. So if you've done cultivation in the past with like hydroponic techniques, you need to relearn how to grow a little bit.
Cool.
A lot of living soil is just soil balancing. So soil mineral balancing theory is like your meat and potatoes, right? Which is how your nutrient ions interact, how they react with each other, how they make new forms of nutrients that are available to be taken up, which is a pretty complicated conversation of like ratios and proportions of particular nutrients and how they antagonize and synergize with each other. A lot of deficiencies that you might see in living soil systems come from imbalance. You could have plenty of calcium, and you might see calcium deficiencies because your cation exchange sites are occupied by like potassium or something like that. And they synergize and antagonize. So like really the meat and potatoes is learning soil mineral balancing theory, which sure you can learn it and it's important to know, but really the foundation of all of it is make sure you have a balanced soil. So that can be by following a soil mix and learning how to test it and make sure that it's everything is in its right proportions, or just going and buying like a completed tested mix from one of the many people who have them, like Build a Soil, the Soil King, Brainerd Rust, KIS Organics, the list goes on, the soil makers, Coast of Maine, there's a whole bunch of different ones. And then focusing on maintaining proper soil moisture. You can go buy a living soil. You can make sure that your moisture is on point and leave it alone and not do anything else to it. Maybe if you want to get into like soil food web sciences, use a microscope, make sure that you have enough protozoa, and that nutrients are cycling biologically as well, because there's multiple influences to nutrients being available, one being the correct proportions chemically, and the other being your biology that's cycling nutrients, right? Those are the two big things. And so number one is good soil, good moisture, and biology.
Perfect.
So yeah, the ferments and stuff like that are like your dessert. You know what I mean? And everyone really wants to get into making ferments first, and it's a lot of fun, and I definitely encourage people to do so. But your real priority is your soil and your biology first and foremost.
Solid advice there. Again, building the solid foundation. And I want to get into, let's give away these beans here real quick, because I want to get into your current grow and kind of what you're doing and why you're doing that. So let's real quick here again, guys, 20 more seconds. If you're in the US and you want to play for a pack of the Miss Cool Ice, just go ahead and type clever into the old chat box. I'm going to go over, I'm going to close all these tabs of Mr. Cool Ice pictures that I have open. We don't need those anymore. All right, we'll go back to clever. 210 entries, 11 entries. Good luck, everybody. If you are the winner, please reach out to me. I'm on Instagram, chad.westport. Better yet, chadwestport.com. Go there, find my email. And Darren Fisher, Congratulations. Send me an email, man. And I will get your mailing address and I will get this out to you. I'm just writing this down here. Yep, it equals cool ice. All right, so we do have more giveaways coming up throughout the show, and we are going to be doing something, an exclusive thing from Luna as well. So definitely keep watching for this. But tell me about your raspberry project. You're kind of currently trying to grow them out in certain ways, or what are you doing with it right now?
So I did the raspberry moon cheese line as a part collaboration with Frank from Purple Caper.
Okay, yeah.
And then using my male stud of my raspberry moon cheese, which is a my lunar cheese, which is DJ Short's blueberry on kryptonite on UK cheese, and I put that on animal cookies. I worked that line a little bit, and then we used that stud that I hunted, and we put it on a handful of things that were provided through tissue culture by Frank at Purple Caper, as well as some things that I had as well. And we made a collaboration breeding project. The project was grown in my greenhouse in a long 65-foot solid bed. This is 5 foot wide. Ooh. In a auto depth setup that is mixed light. So it's a 5,000 square foot greenhouse with an auto depth down the center of it. And so we did mixed light cultivation of this seed project. In living soil. And then that line it's super fire. It's it has a very nice raspberry expression, extremely frosty, long trichome necks, like a nice sandy texture. It has these really cool like purple bracts that express as well, so it gives that nice cool contrast of purple and green with the long trichome necks that make it like very white. You know what I mean? So we did the breeding project. I ran everything in, tested it in the bed as well, just to make sure that we didn't have any like stability problems and stuff like that. And that we could like release it and that it was quality stuff. Some of them we decided not to release, and then a lot of them we did. And then now I'm going through individually in my 10th series and growing out a couple at a time and really just showing like the full potential of them. And so in my tent, I put 250-gallon pots in my tent.
Holy cow.
I got it.
Just throw the soil in the tent. Who needs the bed?
Yeah, whatever. But yeah, so I got hooked up by the Soil King with the soil. Just he sent me a tote and I just put the whole tote in a tent. In these 250-gallon pots. They're huge. But like living soil, you need a decent amount of living soil. I say about 45 gallons to have like a functioning ecosystem with like different functioning soil food web with like different layers of diversity of biology, because the deeper it is, the different diversity of biology you're going to get, like the deeper it goes based on like oxygen levels and so on. And diversity is key when it comes to like diversity of organic acids and enzymes, and those all act as cofactors and precursors and whatnot to biosynthesize volatile organic compounds, your aroma compounds. And I digress. So I wanted a lot of soil, and so I'm really trying to maximize the potential. I don't want there to be any limiting factors to show like what the real potential is. I want to show like this is exactly what the plant can do.
Nice. Yep.
Excuse my little orange boy. Hi, orange boy.
Hey, no worries. Because a lot of times, it's like how many plants do you typically toss in that large of a soil mass? Or do you have like, I typically do one plant for every like 10 gallons, or is there a ratio?
So currently I'm doing my entire feminized skunk line, which is before the raspberry moon cheese line. I did the raspberry moon, that was breeding project before the raspberry moon cheese line. And then I did a couple of the raspberry moon cheese line, the run before that. Oh, excuse me. Oh my God.
No worries.
Wait a minute, what did you ask me? So I usually try to do one plant per like 45 gallons for like a living soil
Okay.
system. But I'm just being a crazy person and I did one plant in 150 gallons in a 10.
It's awesome. Hopefully more than a 2-week veg.
Yeah. I train them out quite a bit.
Good.
Yeah, they were growing for quite a while. I think it was like it was at least a month and a half of veg time, and like training them out. And then I've been lucky enough to be sponsored by Grandmaster Level, and so I got under canopy lighting and overhead lighting and spectrum tuning, and then AC Infinity is also like affiliating with me, partnering with me. So I got a bunch of their stuff. Blue Mat from Sustainable Village hooked me up too, so I'm running the Blue Mat irrigation system.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you use the tensiometer from Blue Mat? Or
I did, but then I broke it because I watered over the top of it. But I do use an aerometer to monitor the soil moisture.
Okay.
Which you can get.
Sorry to sidetrack you there. But I was always curious because I have some of them here, and that's something that I recommend to a lot of like newer growers with living soil, because as you mentioned, you do have to water it differently. I tend to keep it a lot wetter than I typically would normal stuff. But also when you have 45 gallons or you have such a larger mass, there's so many different places that it can be as far as like the levels. So having it strategically placed gives people a good answer or a good idea of their soil moisture level. But like you said, don't water the top of your thing because that's how they die.
Yeah, I learned that the hard way. But yeah, having them at different depths and stuff like that. So I have my aerometer, which is I think 22 inches. It's all the way at the bottom, and then I have a shorter one, and then I have another shorter one, and then I have different lengths of irrigation carrots for the Blue Mat system as well, and 3 consecutive rings surrounding the pot to make sure that I have just even moisture throughout the entire thing.
So does the aerometer measure in M bar, or what is its unit?
It's K bar. The K bar and M bar, is just a moving of a decimal point.
Okay.
So I rock between because everyone's using like M bar for the most part, between like 60 and 80, or like 55 and 80 about, and that's where I see the best growth in my experience. Some people like to let it go up to like 100, and then the higher the number, the drier it is, for people who are curious. But yeah, I like to rock it between 60 and 80 is my ideal window that I seem to find that work best. And then I always do like a living mulch kind of like companion plant system, which is really great for promoting like protozoa presence, because the root exudates from the companion plants allow for more protozoa to exist on that surface level, which are a crucial part of cycling nutrients. So the bacteria breaks them down, the protozoa eats them. And I'm using alyssum, which is really fun and pretty. Alyssum. Sweet alyssum.
I know I've heard of it, but I can't picture it right now.
It's so cool. They're like purple and white flowering plants with kind of shallow roots, so they don't penetrate too much and compete with the plant. And I have it on my Instagram too. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and so that's what I'm doing.
Do they attract? Because sometimes there are cover crops that may be almost an attractant to some pests or even
definitely.
How's alyssum fall into that?
So alyssum is great. So it doesn't really attract pests at all. It's not susceptible to a lot of the common pests. So like, people use a lot of clover because of its nitrogen fixing potential. But spider mites and aphids really love them. Really love it. And same with like beans and stuff like that. So a lot of like the dynamic accumulators that people chase that they companion plant with and stuff like that, they can attract pests. And my opinion, and not everyone may agree with me, is that in living soil systems where we're adding nutrients like that, and we're in control of like integrating particular nutrients that we may need, I feel like that like pulling nitrogen from the atmosphere isn't super important to me. I'm using companion plants as more of a way to like create a soil food web balance, you know what I mean? And then attract beneficials, attract pollinators. And in an indoor setting, that's obviously not important. And then use something that isn't going to bring in pests, And alyssum is just really pretty and it smells really good. And so when I open my tent, I have it overflowing with white and purple alyssum flowers that are, you know, helping my soil biology. And that's really what I care about, because if I wanted to add nitrogen, I would just add amino acids if I needed it. You know what I mean? So
What do you do with it? Like, is there a point during the harvest where you like chop and drop it? Are you like cutting it, making some tea? Or are you just letting it go until you harvest and then taking it out? Like, what is the life cycle of your cover crops, or maybe specifically that one?
so this last time I debated whether or not I was going to just cut it back or just remove it completely. And I decided to remove it completely and just re-sow it for the next time. And I kind of wish I hadn't done that, honestly, just because alyssum can be kind of difficult to germinate, only because the seed providers can be a little inconsistent. And I remember I bought one pack for one side and one pack for the other side, and one pack germinated and the other pack didn't.
Come on.
I know, right? I know. But what I ended up doing is I did cut all the flowers off and then I fermented them. I did like a fermented plant extract. I fermented them with lactobacillus, lactic acid bacteria serum.
Yeah, that's awesome. And hopefully, probably that's one of the things that they can find up on the Discord server as well.
Oh yeah,
Is
my
this
process.
some of your recipes?
Yeah, my process is to make fermented plant extracts are all up there. And I have videos outlining how to make lactic acid bacteria serum, and then how I made it into fermented plant extracts and stuff. I have quite a few of them actually, from like different cycles over the years.
That's super helpful.
Yeah.
So the raspberry moon cheese, we're talking about you're growing it in a very large container, so it's going to have its full like buffet of nutrients. So
Yeah.
Again, with watering, we started out earlier. You're talking about antagonism between the ion exchange rate and cations between different minerals, nutrients, and a lot of times, I guess to the point is like calcium. Calcium will show up sometimes as a deficiency, but it's usually because of this interaction. It's not a lack of actually in the soil.
Right.
But you are going to be starting with such a big battery. That's the thing kind of about living soil. The bigger the soil mass, the larger the battery. As long as you water it correctly, it's going to have the full buffet of food. So have you done anything else to the plant to maybe maximize its expression or its potential? Because this is almost like the showcase grow. This is okay, people, do it, buy the book, and boom, you should get similar results.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything else?
So really focusing on biology through different top presses and occasional compost teas. So I've kind of been known for creating like novel compost tea recipes, things with like oat flour, beet juice, aloe vera, using earthworm castings and insect frass. But a lot of the meat and potatoes is like top dressing, just like castings, insect frax, and bukashi, to really make sure they have like a high microbial density, like bacterial density in the soil itself. And focusing on biology is like the key for living soil systems. So the companion plants with integrating like biological principles that also have diversity of like organic acids and enzymes are really like what I focus on. And this can look like adding prebiotics through like using beet juice and aloe vera and coconut water, as well as making sure that I have a diversity of biology through the earthworm castings, insect frass, and bukashi, but also using like specialized microbes like phosphorus solubilizing microbes, or adding sprouted seed teas that have phosphatases or different enzymes that help break down polysaccharides, which I also introduced. So like chitin is a polysaccharide found in insect frass, and we can introduce chitinase to help break it down. And then I did some other like novel things that I experimented with, which is using an oligosaccharide called chitinase, or chitinase, which stimulates jasmonic and salicylic pathways, right? And now we're getting a little out there, right? And this is something that I was just playing with. So the jasmonic pathways, which is like your pathways that surrounding like jasmonic acid, and then your salicylic pathways for like salicylic acid. They stimulate those pathways. And so I added chitosan, and then I added jasmonic acid, and I added salicylic acid as a way to potentially bring out more like aroma expression. It's just something that I played with, and I don't know whether or not it actually worked because I wasn't doing a side-by-side. But that was just, I try to like always kind of, whatever little thing that I'm like interested in at the time, I do like to play with it. But I always try to do like very minimal amounts because I don't want to just randomly kill my plant by doing something that I've never done before. Which I always
test
recommend.
on a small patch of carpet before you apply to the full room.
It's
right?
true. It's true. And so I was discussing it in the Discord server, and someone kind of ran with it, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I want to do it too." And they hit it with a lot stronger of a dose, but they didn't do it on their main cannabis plants.
Okay.
I forgot what they did it on. They did it on something else like beans or something, and they killed them all. And I was like, "Oh, okay, God." I was like, "Yeah, you always got to do less is more." So, and that's a big thing in living soil systems, and pretty much just all like cultivation is more is not always more. It's about like balance. And some things, the difference between benefit and toxicity is just dose, right? And that's how it is in like medicine and like human medicine too, you know? So
water can be deadly if you drink too much of it. So absolutely.
Exactly. And a perfect example is like auxins. So often auxins are like a growth hormone for plants. But then like a lot of herbicides are also just auxin based. And so like you can give a little bit of auxin to a plant and it'll stimulate its growth. But if you give too many auxins to a plant, it just kills it immediately. And so like a lot of these herbicides that you see, they're just auxins and like high concentrations, and you spray them on the plant, they just die. So it's
it goes to kind of to, you know, you said balance is so key, and I mean organic, absolutely, even synthetic too. One of the main things that new growers, you know, you read or you see online is when you're in flowering, you're like, oh, the P and the K, I gotta bump the P and the K, and then you go to the grow store and you see this like 0 for the nitrogen, 50,
yeah,
you know, and you're like, well, this must make it great. If I put twice the amount on, then well, it's gonna grow twice as big, right?
Yeah, not necessarily. Not
necessarily. It throws off the balance. And like you said earlier, an imbalance can block out things that are in the soil that the plant wants, but makes it not available. So how do you, you know, I do love a good A and B test, but how do you keep track of some of these things? Like the jasmonic acid, how did you add 5 milligrams per liter or 100? Like how do you keep track of these things?
This is a difficult conversation because a lot of this stuff doesn't have a lot of like concrete empirical evidence behind it. Okay. So like, while we understand conceptually that jasmonic acid is a stress response hormone and it does stimulate plant like defenses and growth rate, it's a crucial part of the plant and how it functions. Knowing exactly how much jasmonic acid we have in something is very difficult. So we know that jasmonic acid is present in higher densities in like premature fruits. And so we can use premature fruits to and like ferment them to extract that jasmonic acid. It can be unstable, but in fermentation like processes, like when it's like captured through fermentation, it does stabilize it a bit. And as long as we keep it like properly stored and stuff like that, we can assume that we're integrating it. But through fermentation, organic acids can change from one form to another. They can actually change what their organic acid like is itself. So it can stabilize it, it can change it. There's a lot of potential factors to it. So knowing that certain plant inputs have higher jasmonic acid presence inside of them, we can take those particular plants and ferment them and understand that this likely has jasmonic acid in it. How much we have in it, we don't really know. How much change from one form to another, we don't really know. So unless we have like, you know, a chromatograph, which is an insanely expensive piece of equipment, and no one
measure the molecular weight of every different thing in there and be like, this is the molecular weight of that, and it's so something that we don't have access to at home.
Right. And it's not like economically viable for people to make ferments at home for low cost, low tech inputs to then use $150,000 piece of equipment to test it.
I'm saving
so-
money.
I'm saving money. And then, so we can like conceptually understand a lot of this stuff and integrate it. But that's like a lot of how like living soil stuff is. And there's a lot of like claims around living soil stuff. And it is important to communicate to people like, we're kind of just trusting the process here in a lot of different ways. We know that like soaking plant inputs in water will extract organic acids like through osmosis and stuff like that. And they'll extract nutrients and things like that. But we also know, we have like conceptual understandings of things. But like how much in milligrams, I have no idea.
Right.
I have no idea. So I always start with less, and then I just like play with it. And then I know that aloe vera has salicylic acid. That's just a fact. And then I don't ferment it. I just use it raw, stuff like that.
Treat your ferments like edibles. Start low and go slow, I guess.
Exactly.
And I like that too, because that's kind of one thing that broke my brain when I started switching over to some of the organic stuff. And because I like numbers, I like data. So I'm like, well, you can't tell me how many milligrams to add. That breaks my brain.
It's difficult. It is difficult.
And we use observation. So using like exactly what you just said, if you start low, go slow, you can observe certain changes in a plant and then, adjust accordingly. But we know it works. We just don't have the, why. It's like before we knew about the CB1 or CB2 receptors, we're like, THC helps with this. Why? How? Don't really know. But try it and you'll experience that too.
Right. And so a piece of advice that I offer surrounding this is stop using something when you stop seeing your plants respond like drastically to it. So like we could use different combinations of like phytohormones and see our plants respond to it, drastically. And then people see like, oh my God, my plant loved this, so I'm going to just keep doing it. Then they keep doing it to the point where it's now created a problem. And I see that with not just phytohormones, but with a lot of different inputs, like through like the consultation services that I provide with people. A lot of people in Southern Oregon, they were like really huge on fish and kelp. And they would just like, oh, my plants love it. And they just hit it and they hit it and they hit it and then they hit it. And then they're like, oh, I got crown rot, and they're like, oh, crown rot's a big problem this year. And adding inputs that are super high in lipids and like food sources for biology, you're going to create a huge bacterial density in your root zone to the point where it just starts decomposing your plant itself. So people would call it crown rot, and I'm like, no, you guys just need to back off. You're pumping with fish and kelp constantly, right? Or another example is I see people use like trace mineral inputs. I had a friend who really, I'm a big fan of multi-amino, which is a trace mineral product that's chelated by amino acids. It's from BioAg. And I love to use it. It helps with a lot of problems, especially around like week 5. And I had a friend who was like, every time I use this stuff, like my plants pray. And then he kept using it to the point that he got like a manganese toxicity, and then, and now he's like, no, I don't know what's wrong. And I'm like, you just used it too often. So
you needed this much, you use this much.
Exactly. And so like use an input to the point where you see that it's not just helping your plants anymore. Just stop doing it. If you're not seeing your plants respond in the same way, don't just add more and think like, oh, they just need more. If you see a beneficial response from something and then you see it stop working and stop creating that huge beneficial response, just stop doing it. And so that's my recommendation for people.
Awesome. And then tomorrow, I'm sure he probably didn't invent the phrase, but Leighton Morrison always, I heard him say it all the time. He's like, don't be a moron. Don't just keep putting more on. So
that's funny. Yeah. I've done quite a few shows with Leighton. I like him. He's a nice guy. He gifted me a because I'm always juicing stuff. I'm always like juicing beets and juicing different things. And so he sent me I don't know how you explain it. It's not like a juicer that like blends stuff, that like shaves it. It like presses it.
Pulps
it's like,
it.
Yeah. And he was like, here, how and he sent me one. He was like, try this. This should work better. And I'm like, great, thanks, man. I appreciate it. He's a nice guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, one thing about organic growing too, especially if somebody's coming from like the synthetic world is, a lot of things synthetic, it's immediately plant available. We get instant gratification. And then we start talking about organics, and there's, delayed gratification, because a lot of
There can be.
times, it's the soil food web needs to convert nutrients into the plant available form,
Mhm.
but it's not a hard rule. And from your answer there, you already know that. So how long, maybe like with the ferment, should somebody expect to see results versus adding like a gypsum or something in the soil?
So right. So if we're, and that's a good point and a good discussion point. So if we're using like mineral based nutrient sources, they're going to take a while to break down. If we're using like animal byproduct nutrient sources, are going to take a while to break down. Things like blood meal, though, are going to be like immediately available, right? And more like plant-based inputs are going to break down a lot quicker. So their minerals are going to take longer, like langbonite. Takes a lot. It's a great way to add potassium, but like and sulfur and magnesium. But it takes such a long time to break down that if you're using it as a quick fix to add potassium, you're not going to see the benefit right away. And then if you continue to add it, you're going to have too much of it. That potassium is going to take up a lot of those cation exchange sites, and you're going to just like totally mess your soil up. So with ferments and stuff like that, though, since they're typically plant-based inputs, I really wouldn't ferment a mineral. It's going to be ready like right away. So yeah, that's one of the great benefits of using ferments, is that you're making like an immediately available nutrient source to kind of like fill in the gaps if you need it.
Good, because again, a hard thing about like switching over to an organic style of growing is when you had that, oh, I probably should have added this 2 weeks ago. You need that like quick, immediate fix. So it sounds like there are some things that you can still keep it organic if you want to. Oh, geez, phosphorus is low, or another.
Yeah,
something.
Phosphorus is the really tricky one, but yeah, absolutely. And I typically recommend that if you're trying to like balance your soil, you do it when you don't have plants running. You can use these other things to like fill in the gaps, like products that you purchase or ferments that you make, or top dressers that would be more available quicker than like a mineral or something like that. Chasing calcium deficiencies by top dressing gypsum is going to be really difficult for you. While making like calcium acetate by reacting acetic acid within vinegar with like a calcium carbonate would be a way to immediately have calcium acetate, which is immediately available to the plant. And we can give that to it. You know what I mean? So like having all these different tools are really helpful in living soil systems. And it all makes it sound so like super complicated, and these are all, this is all just like the fun stuff to like play with. It really is just having a good quality soil that's ready to go and growing in it and keeping it watered. And that's really all you have to do. But all this stuff is extra, and they're great tools to have for situations that come up, and it's great understanding to have. But I feel like a lot of the time we have these conversations around living soil, and it's like, damn, this shit is complicated. You know what I mean? Like there is so much going on. Like I just want to water the plant, and I want it to be dank, and I want it to smell good, and I want it to like dense up, and I'm just gonna like run it this way because it seems simpler. Really, living soil systems are super simple. It's just soil, companion plants, water, and you leave it alone. You can test it at the end, you can balance it, all this other stuff. It's fun. I find it really interesting. It's great to nerd out on if that's what you're into, but I don't want it to seem like living soil systems are super, super complicated, which can happen in these conversations. The minutia, the details within it, like, yeah, there's complex systems at work here. And we have a lot more options to play with in living soil systems. And that's what makes it sound so complicated. But really it really is like a simple system where you just have soil and you just water the damn thing and it's gross,
You could get started. I mean, there's many different ways to get into it. My introduction, or like my world to it, was I bought, an amended soil. It had all the nutrients already in there that I needed. I just basically needed to water it properly, have, a 3-4 week veg, a 60-day flower, and a 70-gallon pot. And it did everything for me. I didn't need to feed. And then from the, give me the recipe soil, then I started adding top amendments. Maybe I went a little bit longer, and those were organic. And you have to think ahead, again, because they're not immediately plant available. But when you grow a plant repeatedly, you're kind of familiar with its needs at the different stages, so you can think ahead. And that's where the note keeping comes in handy. But there's many ways to get into it. And, like we said, kind of at the beginning, it's like you can get started or you could be driving the Ferrari. That's the fun part.
Right.
So yeah, it doesn't have to be the Ferrari for everybody, like you were kind of saying there, but it
Totally.
absolutely can be, and it's fun
Yeah.
when it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And something that I forgot to mention earlier when we were talking about like the foundation of just like having a healthy living soil grow is worms too. So like if you just have good soil, you have worms in it, you have companion plants, and you keep it moist, you're just gonna crush it, because the plant through its different growth stages, week 3, week 5, vegetative week 3, week 5, the root exudate profiles will change, and they'll take up different profiles of nutrients. And as long as the nutrients are present, the plant will do its whole, I need more P, I need more K, and you don't have to do that like you would in a hydroponic system where you're changing the recipe that you're giving the plant because the foundation's already there. So it does make it a lot simpler. But we can get crazy with it if we want to. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this kind of, ties into what we're talking about too. Chad or Luna, we can both take a swing at this for you. Jester Gross, thank you for watching. Is he saying, depending on what nutrients you use, does that mean you got to watch reusing your soil, or are there products that you can reuse? And real quickly, again, just if that for other people, let's say you have a baseline right here, and this is the nutrients you have, and cannabis takes like this nutrients, but it leaves these here. If you just keep running again, it may be depleted. I have such a bad example right now, but it may be depleted in what it wants most faster than some of the other nutrients that are in the soil. And I want to ask you about soil testing here real quick.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's a little bit easier. I have the Westport Blend, which is from KIS Organics. It's designed specifically for cannabis, with cannabis in mind, through soil testing. And again, every strain is going to be different, but through soil testing, you get a general idea of what cannabis takes and what ratios. And I also use the dry amendments from KIS Organics, which is designed for cannabis as well. So it kind of knows what is more depleted than the other nutrients in the soil. And so that's how I keep doing it. But at some point, you do need to soil test just to reconfirm that. So you're on a larger scale, a larger soil mass than I'm using here at home. Do you soil test every time, or like every 4 times, or are you just reading your plants?
I soil test every time.
Okay.
And mostly it's to make sure that I don't have like too much of a trace mineral or not enough calcium or something like that. And then based on what your soil test says, you can make some minor adjustments. And typically they are, in fact, just very minor adjustments. But you can use the soil over and over and over again. Living soil systems, you can rock that soil, potentially forever.
Endlessly.
But
almost. Yeah, as long as you keep the soil structure.
I mean, there's people with like 80 run, my 80th run in this living soil, it's 10, 15 years old kind of thing. And like the limit to like how old their soil is like, cause they had to move or something like that, people run the same living soil forever. You can just keep adding amendments, keep it balanced. The one thing that kind of limits that is what kind of aeration you've used. You want to have like cinder and pumice and stuff like that, because if you're using perlite or rice hulls, your aeration input, your aeration component can break down over time, and then you can have like compaction issues, and then you have to completely till the soil to like make it usable again. So that's like a big limiting factor. But yeah, you can reuse your soil over and over and over again.
And I'm glad you mentioned rice hulls too, because at the surface, I mean, commercially, there's concerns with arsenic. We'll get past that, but for a lot of growers, that is something that we hear. You just toss some rice hulls in there, it'll be good, it'll keep everything great. But time has shown that they just break down and they don't have the same benefit fairly rapidly, especially compared to something like pumice. So pumice is my preference, but there are other options out there.
Yeah, I rock a pumice cinder blend.
Yeah, that's and again, you've got big soil masses and you're reusing them. So that's, the best investment because it is a little bit more expensive for that. But again, investing in your soil pays off a lot later. And that's a big point of organic growing in beds for a lot of people.
Yeah,
It's that return.
with living soil, you're making a larger investment initially, but you're saving time in the long run.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And here's a good question too, for Marty. He says, how do you know your soil sample is representative of all the soil in the container? Because if you're working a 65-foot long bed, you're probably not just taking one scoop in the center and sending that to the lab, are you?
Right. So there's a few different ways that we can approach this. One is that we test different corners, we test different depths, or we homogenize it to get a generalized idea.
Perfect.
So we take samples from different areas and we homogenize it, or we run multiple tests, because the surface of the soil is going to I don't want to say deplete, but it's going to decrease in particular nutrients faster than soil that's deeper, just because of the root density of the plant. So, we'll see higher density of roots on the surface, like our feeder roots and stuff like that, than super deep, right? And also depending on how large we let our plants go. So it is possible that different depths of the soil will have different nutrient profiles. So I like to do one that's deeper and one that's on the surface. And then I like to do it in different sections of the bed. So let's say in my long bed, I'll do tests at the corners, the very edges, you know what I mean? And then I'll do one deep in the center and one at the top in the center. And then I get a general idea. And so if I'm seeing okay, there isn't really much nutrient depletion deep down, I know that I don't have to really get in there, which we shouldn't have to often.
Right.
And we're kind of just working on getting the surface back to baseline, I guess. So, and the conversation surrounding soil testing itself can be a bit complicated because soil testing isn't always a perfect representation of the nutrient profile as well. It gives us a good idea, but it's not perfectly accurate all the time either. So we,
it's just really hard too. Again, it's kind of saying, pH, because even, the pH in the rhizosphere is going to be different than a few inches away. Guesstimate's not the right word, but it's just a, rough guideline of what's in there. It's not going to tell you exactly. So doing the homogeneous, where you're taking from different areas of the bed, mixing it together, a good baseline representative. It's not specific.
Right.
There we go. That's what I'm trying to say.
And I think this really stresses the importance of being gentle and not getting too heavy-handed with stuff and just doing a little bit to nudge things back in the right direction, and not slam your plants with drastic changes because you're worried about deficiencies.
Have you ever played with sap testing? You mentioned Brandon Russ earlier, Bokashi Earthworks, Full Crop Sciences. He, a couple years ago, just went extreme geek level, and it was rad because it was the ultimate way in me to learn different cultivars. So what he did is he had specific cultivars growing in beds. He was doing both the soil analysis and the sap analysis. Soil, again, it tells you what's in the soil. Sap tells you what the plant is picking up. So he really was able to dial in because he did it over multiple runs. So he knew exactly what that cultivar took from the soil. So when it came back to amending that, he's like, dude, I actually have specifics for that. You just plug this back in and you're at baseline again. That would be very expensive to do. But have you ever played around with something like that?
No.
Sap analysis as well?
No, I haven't. So my testing is just Malic 3 and the saturated paste test. And that gives me a good amount of information to know, if I need to focus more on particular methods to make specific nutrients more available. The sap analysis is definitely an excellent tool. And I think that's more economically viable. And I love geek level stuff, but I think it's definitely it's more viable for people who are growing large scale cultivation and where it's this investment is worth not crop failing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
While like in a tent situation or even in my greenhouse situation, it doesn't make it makes sense, but I have not done it. No.
Right.
Yeah. I don't really have problem. I don't really run into like deficiencies very often. It's a very rare circumstance, and it's typically environmental if it does happen, because I lived in a very cold area where it's below freezing a lot of the year.
I've seen you pounding snow off of the roof before. The greenhouse.
Yeah, I have. And when I did my skunk run, I actually started it in the wintertime, and I threw concrete, like insulated concrete blankets over the top of my auto dep to like insulate my auto dep. And then I had my greenhouse also, and it was -7 outside. And I'm running two 7,000 watt electric heaters. I'm running two full-size Quest hums, and then I had 12,000 watt HPS in there to keep it, and I kept it at 72 degrees for the whole run. But in any situation like that where something went out or the power went out, like then I'm going to start running into problems and stuff like that. But typically, you know, I just pay attention to nutrient balances, make sure my microbes are present, adding like enzymes or carbohydrates, blah, 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 blah. And maintaining moisture, and I don't really run into deficiency problems. So like, sure, you can have deficiencies or too much of something in a plant and the plant still looks healthy. Like you can have a healthy plant and still it's not like perfectly balanced. And so like sap analysis does come in handy, because you can rock a green plant the whole time, and it's very happy and healthy, and you can still have like small bud development, because even though the plant was healthy, it wasn't ideal. And so like sap analysis comes in handy in situations like that. And I think that that's really important. And like large commercial scale grows, but I have not played with it very much. I haven't played with it at all. I haven't played with it at all.
Well, to your point, it's more economically viable and more important for the commercial grows because they have a bigger investment tied into this type of data. At home, if we could scan it with our phone, I'm sure we'd be doing it all day. But we're not there yet. And
they sell equipment, and it's like $10,000-$15,000 or something like that, where you can just go over and like clip your little plant and see like the the what's being uptaken and how much nitrogen you need to add and stuff like that. But yeah, that's
very fancy bricks meter.
yeah, kind of.
Like a fancy one. Yeah, in a roundabout way. Oh gosh, what was I going to say there? I want to give away some more beans here. But I was going to delay that for a second. It'll come back to me.
Go for it.
All right, let's give away some beans real quick. Do you want to do one right now?
Yeah, we can give away some of my beans. Let's do it.
Okay, let's go. Again, awesome. Thank you so much again for hooking up the community and the people watching. Probably I've always done to the US only. That seems to be where my mail goes. So we'll stick with that. I'm going to go over to the giveaway tool. I'm going to type in the word. And here we go. Okay, so what are they going to be playing for today? Can you tell us a little bit about your strain of choice?
I have to pick one on the spot.
I know.
So let's do something that they can really see if they visit my profile. Oh no, you're all good. Humans and their sneezes and their coughs. So recently, I just did in my TED series. I did my raspberry bomb and I did my raspberry deadhead OG. And so I think. Is it okay if I give away two?
Yeah.
Sweet.
We'll say no
both of those, and that way you can.
Awesome.
That way the winner or whoever can look back and watch how they were growing the entire cycle and see exactly how they grow, because my entire TED series covers them from beginning to end. So let's give away those two.
I love it when people do it that way. That is awesome. Again, so thank you. Whoops. I'm hitting the wrong screen. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Because again, you show people how to grow that one out. They have a roadmap, and they also have kind of visual markers along the way. What should you be seeing? course correct if need be. So yes, please tell us a little bit more about those.
Yeah, sure. So the raspberry bomb is my raspberry moon cheese on glitter bomb. And glitter bomb typically has like a more floral, like herbal aroma. But when I put it with the raspberry moon cheese, that raspberry really came through. The raspberry moon cheese is a very trichome dense, elongated trichome neck plant, and the glitter bomb is extremely trichome dense, but it's not super loud. It's not like a super loud. Yeah, thank you. You're very welcome. Oh, it's just so generous. So the combination of the two really it brought a lot of aroma to that glitter bomb. So the genetic is extremely trichome dense. It has purple bracts, which is a trait from the raspberry moon cheese. It's a very dense, kind of cookies appearing, just because there's that animal cookies, and then the glitter bomb, I'm pretty sure has like cookies lineage. But the expression is much more cheese, raspberry, and floral in the aroma than you would get from like a typical cookies.
Okay.
And then the raspberry deadhead is deadhead OG, which is gas. It is gas.
I love it.
It's fuel. It's strong. It's that kind of smoke that like just it puts you down. It hits you hard.
Dude, gas tends to do that. Like that profile in particular is like, I've never met a lightweight gas.
It's not. It's hit you hard. The combination of the cheese with the gas, it created a aroma profile and like a uniqueness that I think a lot of people, their like endocannabinoid systems aren't familiar with. So when I gave it to my friends, they would consume it and be like, I'm stoned like this first time I smoked weed. Because they're not used to it.
Yeah.
It's not as trichome dense, but it's heavier yielding. The aroma is just rank. It's super strong. The potency is super high. Visually, I don't think it's as appealing. It's still like, you know, top level smoke, like top shelf smoke visually. But I think that the raspberry bomb is like that peak exotic look. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But it's higher yielding. It hits like a truck, and it tastes awesome. It feels really, really good. And I smoke on it, you know, like every night. Really, I've been smoking on it for a while because I pulled a unit and a half per plant in my setup this last time that I did it.
Someone in chat earlier said, I'm growing that.
Yeah,
so
it's
back
fire.
up
It's fire.
Growing that. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you for, you know, giving away some of these beans to people. I'm going to leave this up here for a little bit. Let more people enter. Again, guys, just go ahead and type in Luna. And if you want to follow more work, I do have Luna's Instagram linked down in the show notes. So if you go down there, click there, and then you'll be able to link to all of her, the Patreon, the Discord, YouTube channels.
My bio has all that stuff. My bio has all that stuff. And then my link tree has a bunch of different like interviews and podcasts and stuff. I haven't been super on top of it, but you can always just like put me into YouTube, put Luna Whitcomb or Luna All Day, and I have a ton of different podcasts I've done.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, you can get to my Patreon through the links in my bio. My website's all up there also, with all my lines and everything too.
Yep. All right, and random question here, although it is a completely good question. I was okay. No way.
Yeah. It's
a spot in that. I'll plug that up here, but
I had
paradise.
I actually had a mother plant in that soil.
That's you had a mother plant in that soil.
I did. I had a mother
awesome.
plant in that soil, and it's actually a custom mix that I made. And I had a friend with a bird of paradise. And I was like, God, I want a bird of paradise indoors. Like, that's awesome. And I just bought one, and the thing is blowing up. It was much smaller, but yeah, it's definitely rocking. My biggest issue is keeping my plants out of it. My cats out of it.
So, no, yeah, I know what you're saying with that. So you mentioned tissue culture earlier, and then you just sparked my interest there. I'm like, did you TC it from your friend? Have you
Oh, no.
dived into that?
All my breeding project stuff is all from tissue culture. All the skunk line, all the raspberry moon cheese line, everything is done from tissue culture. And then we did viroid testing on the skunk line, and everything is clean. We didn't viroid test the raspberry moon cheese line because it's a much larger line. But everything's from tissue culture, and the intention from doing everything from tissue culture is to make sure that we have no viroids. So yeah. Yeah, so
That's awesome.
Both those lines. The original lunar cheese line I did not do from tissue culture. That was my first project, but the other two are all from tissue culture.
Okay, I'm diving into that, hardcore these days. Again, with the upcoming, with the new farm bill. Who knows what's going to happen in November? But right now, tissue culture clones aren't specifically called out by name, so I am stepping up my tissue culture game, and the more I learn about it. Oh God, again, geek level stuff. It makes me so exciting. And now everything I look at, I'm like, I could tissue culture that. The pink pineapples. I learned they're so damn sneaky. Like this is rare exotic stuff. They always make sure they chop off all of the vegetation, enough vegetation when it goes to the stores that you can't actually like pull a good piece off to tissue culture. Like those sneaky patented little bastards. But yeah, I just got a new toy because every time I see a house plant, or even like I want to do this with a lot of like vegetables, but you see something that is just like remarkable and like, oh, that's the best, you're like, snip. I'm gonna make 1 million of them.
That's when I lived in Chico, I was obsessed with propagation. There's a whole bunch of different plant diversity in that city. And I had my, whatever it was, I think 128 site Aero cloner. I had like a few of them. And I was just propagating. If I saw a friend with something, I was taking it. If I, saw it growing around town, I was taking it. And I had so many houseplants in my house. It was a problem to the point where I was like, I have to stop. I have to give all these away. But yeah. I do love taking new things and collecting them, and I've had to stop myself from doing it because it created a ton of work for me that I didn't need in my life.
I know, right? It's again, like I'm already I'm laying out the room. I'm going to be moving here soon, and you're setting up like the new grow room, and now I'm like, do I really only give the tissue culture that much space, or do I give it this much space? I'm like already, as a grower, you're like, I could put a tent there. I'm
debating right now getting rid of this couch and this TV because I never use it, and just putting a tent right there. It's like, do I need another tent? No, not really. Do I want another tent? Yeah, I do.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah.
Do it. You won't regret it. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna put this back up, guys. Just a couple more seconds for the Luna beans. Just go ahead and put Luna in the chat. Ogo Groans has a question here. It says, Luna, we should talk aeroponics sometime. Have you grown aeroponics?
So my first horrible attempt at cultivating cannabis when I was 20 years old was aeroponics. And it was a disaster.
Okay. Haven't looked back.
So I'm 37 now. I tried it when I was 20. Because I was super, I've always been a huge nerd. And I was like, oh, I want to do aeroponics, and then I want to like do a hybrid system where it's DWC and aeroponics and like ultrasonic foggers, and I'm going to integrate all
super high pressure,
for spraying the roots while the roots are being aerated, and I'm going to add fog to it, and I like try to take on this ridiculous system as someone who's never cultivated before. And the whole thing was a fucking nightmare, and the plants never made it to finish. And then I was like, you know what? We're not going to do this.
Too many variables.
It was crazy. But at that time, there was, like YouTube videos where people had like totes and they put earth stones in the bottom of the totes, and they had a layer of water, and then they had aeroponic sprayers on the roots, and then they had ultrasonic foggers in the reservoirs, and it was like this really cool like spraying and aerating and fogging, and I was like, that's so cool, and the plants look so good, and I was like, I'm gonna do that, and it was a disaster. It was a disaster. But yeah, I'm happy to talk about it. I mean, I'm always interested in every science surrounding cultivation of the plant, and I definitely don't want to poo-poo on anyone for doing something that I don't do. I think it's about cultivating your own medicine and finding something you're passionate about, and learning and
Yes.
stuff like that. So
Well
yeah.
said.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
well said.
yeah,
I'm sorry,
yeah,
I cut you off
yes,
there.
yeah, it's a lot simpler than that. Yeah, for sure. But no, I've never done a full run of
Right.
aeroponics.
You ever, I'm sure we've all hopefully have had these moments in life. If you haven't, you're not living, but you're like, ooh, you look like my next mistake. That's how I look at
Like someone you're dating. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Yeah.
But that's the dual root zone. I've seen where it's like, it's like the top half of your roots are actually like in a soil, but your roots are actually coming through and they're hanging down into like a water system, the dual root zone. I'm like, you look like a fun mistake because it's cool, but there's a lot to it. And I probably wouldn't nail it the first time, but fun things to try again. Always good to have those. So let's see here. Let me go ahead and I will give away these beans here real quick, guys. Again, it got to be US only. And if you do win, please, you can get a hold of me directly, chad.westport on Instagram. But better yet, just go to chadwestport.com. Go to the info tab at the bottom. There's email there.
Shit.
Oh, I hear you now. I don't know if you can hear me or not. She probably can't hear me. But I can hear Luna. Let's see. I will put into the private chat. Maybe if you leave and come back, it may help. Put that in the private chat. See if she sees the private chat over there. Let's see here. Okay, I'll just keep talking. Okay. Well, maybe hopefully she'll see the private chat there. I will go ahead and let's do this giveaway here real quick. Okay, so if you guys are in the US and you want to play for some special genetics from Luna all day, her Instagram is also down in the show notes. So you guys could go down there and do that. But let's give this away here. Good luck, everybody. We got 264 of you now inside of the drawing. 65. I better do this before there's more. All right, there we go, guys. Let's see what's going to happen. And who's it going to be? Rusher 2112. All right. Congratulations, Rusher. We've got some special genetics from you. Luna, one more time. If you are here.
I'm here. I can hear you now.
Awesome. Okay, one more time. What did Rusher just win?
You won the Raspberry Bomb and the Raspberry Deadhead, which are killer. You're going to love them.
Awesome. Very cool. Thank you so much for donating some genetics to get them out to the community. Guys, again, you can always go and support Luna Instagram down in the show notes. Click on the link tree. You'll find all of the ways to learn many awesome things from Luna. I don't even want to say because there's so many. And if you've been watching since the beginning, you have kind of an idea of the many areas. We will still be doing another giveaway here coming up. We've got the special Panama Red Runts from THC Garage, the Toxic Red. We'll be doing that. But we're talking, I'll go to some of the questions here. And thank you guys for adding them in. I'll just scroll up here. Garage Grows says, Luna, do you have a Discord?
Yeah. My
answer is yes.
Yeah. The Patreon gets you into the Discord. You can join it for free and just get access to the Gen Chat. And there's like a couple other things. But all the good stuff is just $10 a month. And that helps support me so I can continue doing this stuff for you.
Yeah, well, again, well worth it, guys, too. I always say, you kind of vote with your dollars, but I always like to support people who help me. We're talking tissue culture. One of the channels that I always watch to learn that is Plants in Jars. It speaks to me and how I learn. So that's where I'm going to pick up some equipment. I could probably purchase it somewhere else as well. I probably get it a few bucks cheaper off Amazon, but go the extra mile if you can, because that keeps us doing what we're doing. It keeps us basically researching, letting us do all this stuff, make the mistakes, and then we get good info to you. Chunky Nugs is saying, or his question was about the greenhouse. We were talking about your greenhouse earlier, and he's asking, is the light depth within the greenhouse, or is the greenhouse itself light depth?
So I have a greenhouse that is not light depth, and inside of the greenhouse is an auto depth setup. And then on the outside of the auto depth setup within the greenhouse, I have individual like large pots.
Okay. Are you able to run different zones? Like, is there a section of the greenhouse that like curtains cover, or is it all or nothing just from the inside?
So it's like a rolling side greenhouse. And then so yes. So in the auto depth, I am able to do like, pulling tarps and like run depth within a larger greenhouse. So it's all like greenhouse. It's like greenhouse depth, like mixed light. Yeah. Does that answer your question? I think that
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I think so. Hopefully, Chunky is also setting up a new setup. He's been growing indoors. He's actually helped me test genetics a whole bunch. He's grown multiple rounds of this. He's grown it indoors. He's grown it outdoors, which is cool and very helpful. But he's had some awesome gardens. His last one outdoors was just making me jealous. So I've not been able to do outdoors, but I'm moving. That is in my future, and I couldn't be more excited. So
I love outdoor.
Yeah,
Outdoor is so underrated.
There's pictures of you that I have, just like the thing is just towering over you, like huge that. I've always said that's a goal. I'm like the Mendo, the Mendo dope plants. That's just what I call them. I'm like the Mendo dope plants. I've always wanted to grow one of those. There's
so much fun. They're a huge pain in the ass, but they are so much fun to grow. It is so cool just having this thing tower above you. Harvesting it is a great way to injure your shoulder, which I did. And
oh no, were you on a ladder and fell off, or you it's just the whole time?
You're on an orchard ladder that's still not at the top of the plant, and then you're
trying to reach over
and over again for hours and hours a day for like a week, and then you finish the first run of cuts, and then you got to go back and then you got to do it again, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work,
dude.
It's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. It definitely makes more sense to grow in like a hemp field and do like a bunch of like small plants or something. But growing big plants is a lot of fun. And if you have plant count restrictions, then it makes more sense to grow them huge. So.
Yeah, I can't wait to, make my mistakes and, do all that. There's a lot of good people that I can lean on, and I'll probably send you a few questions as well. I'll be like, what am I doing with this inner canopy again? Because I like growing things with tight nodal structure, but we'll see how it does outside, if it actually extends. I'm excited. Do you prefer, or do you usually do clones outside, or do you start seeds?
So that run was all seed. So a big part of growing really huge plants is your root zone management, and having a tap root that can get down really deep is important if you want your plants to be like really, really huge. Direct sowing feminized seeds is a really great way to ensure that your tap root is super healthy.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you do about the soil outside? Because I know a lot of people don't, your native soil typically isn't the best like growing medium, but I also know that you don't just want to dig like a 3-gallon hole and fill it, and then you have this almost like cyclops in the natural earth. How do you go about amending, or are you just using large pots outside?
Large pots. So yeah, you can just dig big holes. You need to make sure that there isn't a sharp change in soil composition. Whatever soil, right? So whatever soil a plant starts in is like what it usually wants to stay in. And if there's a sharp contrast, like sharp change in soil composition, the plant will just try to stay in its original soil composition, and it's more difficult for it to like spread its roots out. So like if you wanted to do it in ground, having like a gradient of your original soil composition, which was probably like whatever soil that you have mixed or that you've purchased, and then like gradienting it, is that a word, into the native soil, blending it,
Yes.
diffusing it,
Cutting that shit.
You got to cut that shit in different ratios, you know what I mean? That's exactly it. To blend it into the native soil composition, and then that'll allow for the plant to kind of spread into it more effortlessly. If you have a high clay soil, native soil, that doesn't drain well, you gradiating. Yeah. Words are hard. If you have a poor draining native soil, you probably just want to rock it in a pot.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a good point. Like clay, a lot of clay soils wreaks havoc with your minerals, but also, the drainage there.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you mentioned that, whether we're gradiating it, diffusing it, and, cutting it, whatever we want to call it right now. We all know what we're talking about.
Yeah, we are talking about.
I've seen people have problems with that, and I actually made that mistake years ago, just with like a regular tree out front. Somebody had given us a tree. I was like, cool, I'll put that in the front yard. I had extra pot and soil inside. I'll just dig a hole, put it in, and
that's a really common issue with planting like fruit trees and stuff like that.
Yeah. Another thing that people struggle with, and I know it's all time, right? Because there is no timer for the sun, so you have to put it out when there is the right light schedule. And depending upon how far you live away from the equator, the answer will be different. But is there a general time of year that you put things out, or do you actually, I know you mentioned direct sow, but do you start indoors and maybe bring them outdoors? How do you bring your plants outside?
So you can do this in a few different ways, right?
Okay.
And there's always multiple solutions to the same problem. There's different ways to navigate whatever issue that we're seeing. And the issue is when our grow period is, right? When our like photo period is. So we can direct sow it first. Okay. First of all, we have to make sure it's not too cold, right? And what you're risking, what your comfort zone is to risk whether or not it's getting too cold in your environment. So if at nighttime it's dipping into the low 50s, you might want to hold off, but you could probably still pull it off. And so that's what we're going to look at first thing is how cold is it getting at night. If it's getting below 50, definitely don't put your plants outside.
Because soil temperature matters too. It's not just ambient temperature.
Yes, absolutely. The ground is always going to be a little bit warmer than the air just because it can hold, and then it depends on how far away you are from like a body of water and stuff like that too. Because the closer you are to a large body of water, the warmer it's going to be, because that water will hold heat better. So like if you see, and I'm getting off point, but like if you see like near a lake, there, in like a place where it snows, you'll have less snow closer to a lake than you will further away from it, because the like radiant heat from that water is actually making it warmer in that area. So anyway, so that's something to consider too. But so first of all, we look at our temperature. If we have a reasonable temperature, we can augment light to it. And so that might look like solar lights. We don't need high intensity light. We don't even necessarily need enough light to grow a plant to keep it awake. You know what I mean? To keep it from flowering. So you can use solar lights. You can have, light bulbs on a string, running whatever, so that you can start earlier as long as your temperatures are permitting to keep the plant from going into flower. Also, seed plants, a lot of them won't be hormonally mature to start flowering until you start seeing a staggering of their nodes, right? So you'll see, with seed plants, we'll have nodes symmetrically. Thank you. Words are hard. Symmetrically, and then they'll start to stagger, right? And when that staggering happens, the plant is now hormonally mature. So we have a little bit of a window too, where the plant will just stay in vegetative stage, right? So this is how we're navigating direct sowing or running clones earlier than our photo period allows, right? The other way to navigate this is to propagate your plants either from seed or clone indoors. And so now what our big limiting factor is going to be, if we're growing in soil, is our root compaction, our plants getting root bound. Okay. We can grow a 5-foot plant in a small pot, and we have such a root density that when we put it into our native soil, it's going to take it a while to spread its roots out. And then as the plant gets bigger, that original shape within the pot, those roots are going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And you're going to create like a ball, like a thick ball that will limit the expanding of the rest of the roots into the soil. In living soil systems, the surface area that roots can cover and penetrate into soil is going to determine how big and healthy your plant is going to be in the long run. We can veg in a 1 gallon until the thing is 6 feet tall and throw it in 1,000 gallons of soil, and that thing is not going to get very big and it's not going to be very healthy. The bigger the plant is not necessarily better when it comes to growing large plants outdoors. What our key determining factor is that our roots are not root bound. And so we either do this by not growing them for very long, or we grow them in a larger soil volume. The pot shape is also a big thing also. So square pots are going to keep them from coiling and creating that like root bound issue. So I grew mine in 5-gallon square pots, plastic square pots, because the fabric pots, when you remove them, they can damage the tips of the roots. And so it's a huge pain in the ass. So square plastic pots. I did 5-gallon. They got plenty huge. I still think that like 10 gallons would probably be better. Growing a lot of 10 gallons is a lot of, soil.
It's a lot to lift too. I mean, once you get like 7 to 10 gallons, you got to put some legs into it.
Yeah. And then when you're selecting your plants to plant, obviously for growing from regs, you have to do twice as much because you have to accommodate for some of them to be males. But then really selecting for plant shape.
Okay.
Things that aren't like too tall, too not good. Like,
you're not looking for the outliers really.
Right. So we want things that aren't root bound. If we're going to be growing indoors, then put them outdoors if we want big plants. But really, I think if you really want a huge plant, direct sow it into native soil, keep it in vegetative stage, and like plant it early. So like augment light and direct sow it into the final volume. So let's say you have a 400 or 700 or 1,000 gallon pot. And if you can pull it off, because it's going to be trickier, but if you can pull it off and you direct sow a fem into like a 700 gallon pot, like fabric pot outside, and keep it warm enough and keep it in vegetative stage, and you rock it from like May, rock it from or even April. If you could pull it off and veg it all the way through April, May, June in the sun, you're gonna grow a 15 to 20 pound plant that's gonna be 15 to 20 feet high.
Hell yeah.
And
that's the dream.
and then you're really going to be focusing on, am I not rinsing out my nitrogen by watering such a huge volume of soil all the time? So paying attention to adding nitrogen either in the form of blood meal or like soy-based amino acids, which I'm a huge fan of. Because nitrates and phosphates are going to be the ones that you're going to be rinsing out through overwatering, which is very easy to do when you're watering huge amounts of soil, because it's like, how much soil am I supposed to be, or how much water am I supposed to be adding to this huge plant? And then it dries out so quickly because it's in the sun and because it's massive. So that's a big thing too. So being on top of adding nitrogen, and trying not to water to runoff, because watering to runoff is definitely a big issue that can create issues in living soil systems, because you could rinse out your nitrates and your phosphates. So that's how you grow a monster plant, Chad.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's that easy. Probably not.
It's not easy. Oh, it's not easy. But you could. That's how you do it. That's how you do it.
I'm glad you mentioned the nitrogen too, because that is very mobile in soil and where I am. Dude, we get so much rain that I probably will need to actually think about that and supplement that.
Mhm.
But to the original question, it was, kind of transplant early. I'm sure we've all have kept things in pots too long. We then transplant them. I always like to look at root balls and go through the soil when I'm done. Harder to do in beds, but I put all my soil back into a can and amend it anyways. But I always like to look at the root balls, and there have definitely been times where, even though it is in the 7-gallon final container, that root ball is just still a solid 1-gallon mass in the middle. It never, even as you tease the roots out as you put it in. It was not using this much soil. So
and that's definitely a thing. And sometimes the solution is just transplant earlier, or just try to grow it in the final volume from the beginning.
Direct sow. Oh, how many do I plant for the animals and how many do I plant for myself? We'll find out. Because I'm sure a few will get eaten. But
you have deer?
Elk.
Oh,
they're even bigger. They're a deer on steroids. So yeah, there's deer, but it's the elk. And there was some other weird poop in there. It's probably bears around too.
Probably. I've never had to navigate like repelling elk before. Can you use like a bobcat urine? Or like a cougar urine or whatever?
So some hormone or some scent, some pheromones.
Yeah, like predator.
Be worth a try, but really, who's messing with the elk? The elk is just so big. He's like, come on.
I've never had to navigate that issue before, because it's like, what do you scare elk away with?
Yeah, we'll find out. Hawaii Sustainable Elk is awesome. Elk burgers here. I actually have had elk before. I don't know if anybody here. This is a way to keep the elk away. Yeah, I know. It's an old show, but it's called Northern Exposure.
Yeah.
And it was filmed in Washington in this town called Roslyn. And so we go up there, or I would go up there and hang out. They do the Moose Fest thing. But anyways, they were serving elk burgers. Long way of getting to that. But I've tried it, and no, thank you. I'll go with my cow. Random side tangent there. I want to, because we're talking about teas, we're talking about ferments, and you had mentioned Jadam, you had mentioned KNF, which to me, to the layman's opinion, a lot of that is just using naturally available plants to extract nutrients from. Again, we're not able to really say, oh, this many milligrams of it, but it's something that's accessible for a lot of people. Again, the cost of the inputs are low. Trying to research it, though, I've never really found a good book or like an agreed upon book. Are there some like preferred references when it comes to Jadam or KNF?
So for Jadam, there's just the Jadam book.
The orange one?
Yeah, the orange one. That's just it. The
orange one?
For KNF, there's a poorly translated, conceptually debatable book written by Master Cho himself.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I've heard too. That's why I'm asking. I'm like,
and that's still like the one. But through discussion online and people integrating the systems and testing the inputs, there has been such an evolution of the through like the benefit of what these inputs provide, right? Through the conversation of indigenous microorganisms and whether or not they're actually collecting mirror images of indigenous microorganisms, what the benefit of IMO is and why is often debated. And I have my opinions on it too. For a long time, people said that JLFs and, FPJs and FJs have been
plant juice. Yes.
Yeah.
It's all initials.
Juice and fermented fruit juice. They provide particular benefits, and that conversation has shifted from this is specifically for plant hormones, which then turns out that osmotic extraction from sugar isn't a great way to extract organic acids. And there are people who are saying like, oh, this is for hormones, it's not for nutrients. And then it shifted because people were doing testing on it, that, oh, wow, these actually do have a lot of nutrients, but they don't have a lot of organic acids. And then it shifted again to like, oh, no, they do. And so through implementation and wide scale popularity, the benefits and the discussion and the efficacy and how and why has shifted surrounding a lot of this stuff. And I expect it to continue to. And that's okay. But it's also frustrating for beginners.
It's frustrating in the sense that we take something at the face value, like, oh, that's what it is. This is why it does it. But the beauty of continuing to learn is you're able to, new shit has come to light, or there's, technology keeps getting cheaper and cheaper. Methods keep getting more established. So we're going to learn more because it's such a big open door. But yeah, it is a little bit frustrating, but people have to be open that, things are going to change. And that is just part of the journey.
Science.
With this.
Yeah,
science, right?
A constant of science is that it is changing. And we got to roll with it. And you'll find in your journey that you subscribe to particular beliefs that you think are facts, and then find out that they're not later on, and you're gonna have to accept it. And we learn in multiple ways through cultivation, whether you like it or not, about ourselves, about life. It's true. I've learned so much about like people and life and growing, but just like philosophy and spirituality through the plant, because it teaches you hard lessons that you don't want to learn, whether or not you want to learn them or not,
Yes.
And that's one of them, is that you might think through and through that this is doing this because of this, and it's not. And you can sit there in the past and subscribe to it endlessly, or you can move on and advance. And that's just how science is. But anyway, back to your question. So those are the two main things. But there are definitely like experts in the field that you should use as references, like Chris Trump. And I forget the guy's name, the Cho family, and like the guy who developed Jadam and stuff like that. But oftentimes there's some things that are said through those through like the original founders, like the Cho family and stuff, where they subscribe to particular things that turned out to be wrong, and they're still subscribed to them. And it's hard to tell someone who like developed a system like, oh well, actually they found that this is this and this isn't actually thing.
You don't know anything because you got this one thing wrong, but really they should not be so rigid, and they should be able to adapt to new information.
Yeah, and by no means am I trying to say that I know better than someone that's been doing it for longer than me and that developed the system. No, I know. And there's been several times where I subscribed to something and I taught stuff to people, and then learned through empirical data and research papers and white papers that I was wrong, and I had to go back and be like, sorry, I was actually wrong about that. And that just recently happened too. And we're all always learning, and then to call people out and correct them, I don't know what that is. But to call people out and correct them can be offensive to some. And this that actually. So I went to Thailand recently. I went to Thailand I guess it was a year ago. And I went just for vacation, but then when I was over there, I was like, oh, I want to find like landrace stuff, and I did, and I met up with a bunch of Thai farmers and stuff, and I got a whole bunch of different landrace stuff from Southeast Asia.
Nice.
And I'm over there, and they have no infrastructure for their farms. Their nutrient sources are all manures, water, rice wash.
Okay.
Right. And I'm seeing a lot of deficiencies. I'm seeing a lot of problems, and I was trying to politely offer some assistance and stuff like that, and just to imply that like a foreigner might know more than the old school, older male Thai farmers that have been doing it for generations in that area. They were fucking offended. They were very offended. They didn't want to hear anything about, because I was like talking about lactic acid bacteriosperm, or trying to through a translator. And I could tell they got offended, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to stop, and I'm going to sit here. I'm going to enjoy their landrace that they grew, and just keep to myself. But then there was
Yeah.
a younger guy. It was the older guys that were like, "How dare you talk to me about cultivating?"
Of course.
But this one younger guy in particular, he was like he had looked through my Instagram. He knew who I was, and we just had a long conversation. He was so happy to get all this information from me. But yeah, it's sometimes it's hard to like call people out on.
It is, again, there's people within any industry, this industry is no different, that have a vested position in what they've been teaching. And when new stuff comes to light, they're not flexible. They're very rigid because they see their livelihood attached to it.
Absolutely.
It's great, if people could be more flexible, because like you said, that is the reality of it. If that has never happened to you, you're not trying to learn and you're not educating. That is one of the, the hard things about being an educator is we could do all our diligence to make sure it's right, triple source it, find different things. But if the information itself is outdated, when that new information comes to light, we have to come back and say, hey, this is what I've learned, or this is the new experience for it. Because it does happen. I've been there. I'm glad to hear that you've been there. And there are some people who are stuck in their ways, but that doesn't mean you still can't learn anything from them, though.
Absolutely. And I that's a common thing amongst like consultants too, is because like if you're a consultant, you got to know how to do everything, and you can never admit that you're wrong about something or that you made a mistake, because it affects your credibility and then therefore your income. And so like, I think the best consultants are the ones that can admit like, oh, I made a mistake, or, oh, I was wrong about this, or, oh, I should reach out to someone else who knows more. And I know who to reach out to who knows more about this particular thing, because we cannot know everything about everything. The amount of studies within nature is just massive. So,
I always say I don't know is an acceptable answer to me. Usually when it's followed like, but I would do this to find the answer, or I would go there to find the answer. It's like, I don't know is completely acceptable, but point me in the right direction or give me something I could use. So yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's give away. Our time is cruising by so fast. We're almost at the 2 hours. I want to put up another pack of beans. We'll keep talking here for a few more minutes, but I just want to put this one up there. Actually, we're going to do something different. We're going to go with the Runts times the Panama Red, which is actually called Toxic Red 14. And a big shout out to THC Garage. He's a viewer and a big supporter in the community. He's been growing his Panama Red for 20 plus years. Actually, probably longer than that. But he heard me talk about it and I really enjoyed it. I've actually been asked from a lot of people like, yo, that Panama Red, bring me back. Where can I find it? And I've never had a good answer. So he sent me some beans to give away. And so this is from his collection, sent it to me to give to you guys. So shout out THC Garage for that. But if you guys are in the US and you would like to play for that, let me just, I'm going to put in the word Panama, and everybody should know that it's an excellent Van Halen song. So we'll just roll with that. If you guys want to play for this pack of beans and you're in the US, please just in the chat, go ahead and type Panama, and then we'll keep that up here and keep discussing a few more things here real quick. Gosh, we had all these things that we were going to talk about. We didn't touch much on the breeding at all or on the SOP. You have mentioned, regulars and feminized here a couple of times. The Raspberry Moon cheese, Luna cheese, the Skunk Project, what are people going to find from you? Are they primarily regulars? Do you have any feminized? What can people expect?
The Skunk line is all feminized and everything else is all regular. So the Raspberry Moon cheese line is regular. The Lunar cheese line is regular. The Lunar cheese line is getting pretty depleted. And I don't think I'm going to remake that original Lunar cheese stuff. I'm going to move in a new direction, working with just UK cheese, blue cheese. But I'm going to stick to cheese because I've kind of established awesome. A reputation as being like the cheese person. And since my name is Luna, I think, the moon and cheese, it kind of goes together. So I'm going to work more cheese stuff. I'm also going to work my moon diamonds. So I'm going to do some Moon Diamonds work with like the UK cheese and the blue cheese, and then I'm going to do some UK cheese, blue cheese cross releases here in the future. That's going to be my next thing. And I think I'm going to start that after this run that I'm doing is done. But yeah, so the skunk line is all feminized. There are 7 different crosses in that line. The lunar cheese line there's a lot of it is sold out, is gone, and they're never coming back. Sorry. Get
them while you can.
Yeah, and then the raspberry moon cheese, the raspberry moon cheese line. There's a lot of different crosses on that, and I'm going to be growing those out and showcasing them for a while. And then I'm probably not going to make a super big line doing this cheese stuff this next time. Probably just do like 4 or 5 and then run those, test them, work them, and then release them. So that's going to be my 2026 project.
That's a very worthy project. I see a lot of people in chat. Cheese, yes, please.
Cheese.
A lot of people are fans.
I have real cheese.
I've got to try some of that. As you saw from some of those packs there, last year I did some cheese hunting from unlikely sources, and nothing was anything what I was hoping.
I got the real cheese.
Dang. Yeah. How did you get how long have you had this cheese? Where's your cheese from?
So
do you like the UK cheese? Is it blue cheese?
I mean, I love blue cheese. And I love UK cheese. I've always been a huge cheese fan. So I got a lot of the staples of my lines from the location where I first learned living soil and organic cultivation, which is called Concow, California. In the 530 represent. And
so it was earlier. It was about 20 years ago or something. You've had these for a while.
So I've had them for a while. And the stuff that I'm going to be working are seeds that are like close to 10 years old now. But they're things that are just not found in circulation. So I obtained a lot of genetics from my mentor, we'll say. And I don't know whether or not he'd appreciate me saying his name, but I'd have to ask him. But
understood.
He was a avid collector of different genetics, and in that area there was a lot of really unique stuff that was local to that area. And it's not a super well-known area, but it's definitely known for cultivation and we'll just say Wild West lifestyle. And that area then burned down in the Paradise Fire. And the farm that I learned and worked on in my early years also burned down. And a lot of those genetics are now just extremely rare and unobtainable. And I have a good handful of them. I don't have all of them, unfortunately, because there was some really cool stuff there that I just haven't seen since. And the genetic pool is so limited these days. But I have old school stuff, old school rare stuff, and that's really what I focus on, is like unique profiles, unique things. And so I'm going to get away from like the hype shit, and I'm going to go back to cheese. I'm going to go back to like unique things, and like bring them back into circulation, or at least attempt to.
Yeah, please keep working those lines and preserving those, because that is one that's hard to find these days. There's a lot of it floating around by name, but by actual experience, really, I have to go to the Netherlands to get some really good cheese. I still have a couple human things. Seeds that I was sent from a person in the UK, the blues and the livers, which are kind of supposed to be offshoots of that, or maybe just same thing, different name. But he was an older head, reached out to me, would probably have something good. So I have yet to pop those. But who knows what I'll get in there. Again, hunt is fine. The hunt is fun. But I'm glad you have something that you're able to preserve and you're happy to work with. Do you do just like your own seed increases, or are you thinking about preservation in that sense? Or are you just working like out crosses with them?
Wait, what do you mean seed increases?
Well, like if you have, the male or the female, or even just the female that you love, are you selfing that back onto itself, or are you taking like the
Oh, for like
F1s?
feminized?
Yeah, or even just regulars. Trying to keep those genetics around. I guess an example is
I say okay. I get what you're saying. Okay.
okay.
So I did that when making the lunar cheese, like
Okay.
creating the lunar cheese itself, just working the same seed batch into itself.
Yep. That's what I meant.
And then working like the lunar cheese line, I ended up working all those back into themselves. Yeah. But I did not do that for the raspberry moon cheese line. The feminized stuff, a lot of the things, so the alpha skunk crosses, those are from the same seed batches that were then pollinated by plants from that same seed batch, while the other ones, the Verde skunk, the lunar skunk, the Trinity skunk, Durban, and northern skunk, those were all not. So those are all F1s, but I do have different filials within my lines. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So
Good to see some bitch in here playing Panama. He knows the Van Halen version. Panama. No, okay, sorry. Yeah, it's an old guy thing. It sounds like you know the song though. So.
Oh yeah, I'm old. I'm old. I'm 37. My lower back hurts.
Just wait till 40. Just wait till 40.
Oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that.
Dirty
I'm trying
word,
to hit the
dirty
gym
word.
to stay strong, so I don't hurt as much anymore.
Yo, I would say, use it or lose it, but I've seen your gardens. I've seen the works you have to do. I've seen the plant yoga.
I do
under canopy
affiliation.
Yeah,
my shoulders. I
Plant
have strong
part of it.
shoulders from carrying bags of stuff around, and carrying pots around and stuff for years and years. So yeah. But yeah, my lower back hurts. I'm old. But no, I know that song. I got dad. My dad listened to all that stuff.
Metal Rules. Yes. Could there be a more appropriate name? Metal Rules. I saw the 1984 tour. Autograph open for them.
Nice.
Awesome. All right. So that's probably a good time and a good way to start the giveaway here. We're going to do this one last pack here. Again, Panama Red crossed with the Runts. And this is courtesy of THC Garage. Toxic Red. And I do like the fact that, again, he's been growing these for many years. So he does have some good information here about the growing conditions, flowering times, kind of what it likes, what it doesn't like, and then yield too. So that's on there. But before we do this, and again, the mother was the Runts clone. The father was you guys can't read that. But the father was the Panama Red put onto the Runts clone. Before we do this though, before we get out of here, one more time, Luna, where can people pick up some of these things and where can they find you?
So my website is moongrownbotanicals.com for all my lines. And my main content is all on Instagram at Luna All Day, which is right there. The A is shared, so it's LUNALLDAY. And on my Instagram, in my bio, you can click my links and a whole bunch of stuff will show up, including my website, link to my Patreon, and then my link tree, which has a whole bunch of other things, like articles that I've written on different concepts, as well as links to different podcasts and stuff. The easiest way would just be to punch my name into Google or YouTube, and there's a whole bunch of content that I've made throughout the years that you can watch for a long time. But most of my stuff is on Instagram.
Perfect. And that Instagram is linked down in the show notes, guys. So even simpler, just scroll down and you'll see that in here. And I thought this was kind of a cool comment. A lot of good comments, a lot of good feedback all throughout the show. Again, Luna, people really enjoy the information that you put out there. And I always enjoy the conversation. Sheba Cultivation, though, said, "This is incredible. Thank you, Luna All Day. I'm an aspiring young breeder from Canada. I'm in awe. Respect, sis. So
Me-
thanks, everyone.
Message me. Follow me on Instagram.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
yeah, thank you for being here, and thank you for being part of the chat, Shiva, because chat is what makes this even more fun. Like, we're giving out, well, Luna's giving out awesome grow information that you can actually take today and incorporate into the garden and see results. That's amazing. That's fun. But the side conversations, always a pleasure to see that. You guys are a good group of people here. Thank you, Hacky. Says thank you, Luna and Chad. Yes. Our pleasure. Let's do this. And again, Luna, thank you so much for making the time today, coming and join. We hopefully don't keep as much time in between episodes as we did this time.
I am happy to come on whenever. You're always a great hangout, great podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love your stuff.
Well, let's and yeah, guys, if you want to go back, there are back episodes. Probably the easiest one to find with Luna and myself is if you go down to the breeder interviews on the front page of the Chad Westport YouTube channel. If you go there, you see the breeder interviews. Scroll to the right on that, and you will see Luna's episode, and we'll get more in depth. And I know we do talk about the lunar cheese in there, and we do talk about some of your skunk work. So that is where people can go to learn even more about that. But I guess the last thing for us to do here is to give away these beans. Good luck, everybody. Here we go. Let's see who's going to be the winner. I forgot to enter my name this time. I've actually won my own drawing once. That was great.
Have you really?
I did. I totally oh my gosh. It was awesome. I redrew, but congratulations, Ogo, Mikey 617, Pristine. Wow, this is like filling out a bubble test, and you got a long name. I'm just writing Ogo, Mikey 617. You're in for that Panama Red. Just reach out to me, hit me up. And real quick, I think I saw Rookoff in chat just a second ago. I was wondering how I could give him a thanks. Real quick, shout out to Rookoff. He sent me, I thought this was pretty awesome. And pretty fun too. So it's a pack. See if I can get it to focus. Of beans, and I love the name. It is Jeff and Chad's Inside Joke. They're feminized, and this is across. He put together the Lemon Jeffrey #1 crossed with the No Joke from myself, the Chicken Fino. So it's a Rasta Jeff and Chad Westport genetics put together, and he named it Jeff and Chad's Inside Joke. So I'm excited. That Lemon Jeffrey is pretty freaking quality thing from Rasta Jeff and Irie Genetics. So I'm excited. I'm going to dig into these. So thank you for sending these, and I'm glad I saw you in chat today, because I was wondering, I'm like, shoot, how do I get to thank the guy? So very awesome.
I love that name.
I want to. Thank you. I also want to get a Granddaddy Purple, which is actually a cultivar that I really enjoy and do get medicinal benefits from. But I want to cross that with the No Joke, so I could call it Dad Joke. Because I'm kind of known for dad jokes. Like, right?
I love that. That's great. That's great.
So I need to get the Real Deal official GDP, and then hopefully shortly after that, if all is good, we'll have Dad Joke coming out.
That's sweet. I love that.
Oh, well, all right. I guess, guys, we are going to wrap it up. We're going to get out of here today. Thank you for hanging out. I appreciate you guys choosing to spend your time with us, and especially you, Luna.
Yeah, thank you, Chad. Thanks for having me.
Yep, my pleasure. All right, guys. Yep. Have a great day. Enjoy your Saturday. There, that's what I was trying to say.